Well, a couple things. Welcome back, guys. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. We have a new year, which means it's officially a fresh start to be excited about the upcoming season for the Miami Dolphins. We have one game left. All we can do is root for spoiler. That's where I'm going to start. Before we get into it, make sure you like and subscribe. Join the fan channel, the Mike Lenoci Show. I'm here to teach you how to cheer for the Miami Dolphins. It's tough, but I'm your leader. I help you be excited about things when there's nothing to be excited about as we finish our 25th year without a playoff win. Now, some of you might be like, why would we want to beat the Patriots? We're 7-9, 8-9 versus 7-10. What's the difference? But maybe a couple draft picks moving up. So that's why. I would rather play spoiler to a New England team and knock them out of the top two and make them be the 3 seed and potentially play the Bills or Houston or, one of those teams that could probably knock them out in the first round. That would bring me joy as a Miami Dolphins fan, and that's really all we have to cheer for right now this season. Going forward, we talked about this last week. I was angry. I was upset, with how the Miami Dolphins organization looked and what would be going forward for Mike McDaniel, a new GM. And every week, this league changes your mind, and I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Like, Quinn had a good game. He did have a good game. So what? You know what I mean? Like, you watch Caleb play against the 49ers. You watch Trevor Lawrence finally show up for the Jaguars, right? You watch Brock Purdy, the way he's played the last 2 weeks. You're like, can Quinn get to that? Can he get to that level? Maybe. Probably not Caleb's level. Could Tua ever even get to Purdy's level? I was out on Purdy for a while, and now I'm like, wow, Purdy's a player, bro. He's a player. So now Quinn plays good. He beats Tampa Bay. Let me see him beat the New England Patriots. Then I will decide what I think we should root for. But let's see. Now, if he goes into New England and he throws 3 touchdown passes and we win, you could argue that's something to be excited about. Because at that point, as an organization, you would be like, they went 8-9. They started off 1-6. So they went 7-3 in their final 10 games. They clearly play for Mike McDaniel. He's an offensive guru. Let's bulk up the defense in the draft and the offensive line in free agency and run it back with Quinn and Mike McDaniel and see what could happen. That's what you would do. Now, you don't have to like what I'm saying, but that's the only option there is for the Mike McDaniel era. There's no era where Mike McDaniel moves on from Tua and drafts a rookie quarterback to develop. That's just not in the cards for the McDaniel era. Why would it be? The only way we move on is if you fire McDaniel, and whether it's Champ Kelly or someone else comes in and takes over as GM, they clean house, they move on from Tua, they trade off some players, and maybe they don't even draft a quarterback this year. Maybe they go with Quinn next year, but then you kind of are in a rebuilding year, and maybe it sets you up for next year's draft to draft a better quarterback for the 2027 draft. That would be my assumption, really. If Mike McDaniel stays, I don't see us drafting a quarterback. It's him running it back with Quinn and then basically seeing if they're competitive enough and maybe they bring in Malik Willis in free agency. But I don't see a rebuild with Mike McDaniel. So that makes me conflicted about things because I like Mike McDaniel. I don't know how you guys feel about him, but I'm a fan of him. And I think he's a great offensive coordinator. And when people are like, we don't know if he's a good leader, the way he turned it around, how is that not leading? And, if he leaves the Dolphins, does he have a head coaching job right away? Possibly, we'll see. But if Mike McDaniel stays, I don't see a window where they're drafting at 15 and they take a quarterback, or maybe they take look, Carson Beck. He just won. He looks good. I think these guys in the playoffs, if they play well, it helps their stock. But let's say we take a quarterback like in the second or third round, and then you go with Quinn and he plays decent. But is Quinn going to go? Is he going to do what Drake May did? Is Quinn going to go 13-4? Let's be realistic. Even if Quinn plays great next week against the Patriots, Mike McDaniel stays, we run it back with Quinn. Dolphins go 11-6 at best. Maybe you win a playoff game, but then again, if they went 11-6 and won in the first year with Quinn, you would be like, oh, Quinn's good, I guess. Like, that's what you're hoping for. Or do we just rip the Band-Aid off, regardless if Quinn looks good against the Patriots? You move on from McDaniel. Quinn is still there. You get rid of Tua, pay the money regardless, maybe trade him for a 7th-round pick, and you're still paying the salary. I don't know, just get the distraction out of there. And then you bring in Malik Willis, or you draft another guy, or you bring in a vet to compete with Quinn, but it's a first-year coach, a first-year GM, and they're like, it's a rebuild. And being open to going like 4-13 and trying to go for Arch Manning. And when I say Arch Manning, people are like, did you see him this year? Yeah, I saw him today. I saw him the last few games for Texas. I guarantee you next year he improves even more. I want that bloodline. It's like horses in racing. A horse wins, you want that bloodline. Why do they do that? There's a reason. I don't care what you think of Arch Manning. I'd rather fail. I'd rather draft him and fail as an organization trying to tank and get him if you're going to do it correctly. But I think you either run it back with McDaniel and Quinn and competition, or you rebuild the correct way, like we tried to with Fitzmagic back in 2019. You lose so you get Burrow. You lose enough so you get Arch Manning. That's where I'm at. But Quinn looked okay. Quinn looked okay, and let's see what he does against the Patriots. Would you be excited if they won and he threw 3 touchdowns, no picks, and threw for over 250? Would you be excited about that? I think it would be something to look forward to next year, right? That's all I'm saying. Disappointed that Tua might not get, that Waddle might not get 1,000 yards. That's annoying. He didn't get 1 catch in the game. I hate that. It bothers me, but I want him to get 1,000 yards. It just makes it feel a little bit more complete. Achane's a star. We got to re-sign him. Brooks is the heart of the defense. There's some players that will return. The O-line has developed and looked a little bit better. But there's a lot of question marks about where we are going to go this offseason. And now you're seeing the tide turn with the McDaniel thing. I saw a couple different articles today. I don't know if he stays. And I don't know what you should cheer for right now. I'm kind of at a crossroads. I want him to stay, but I know what that means. Like, if McDaniel stays, that means Quinn is competing against someone else, and they're trying to make the playoffs. You know what I mean? Like, you're not rebuilding if Mike McDaniel stays. It just wouldn't make sense because he's not going to survive that, because then fans are going to be upset during a rebuild, and, like, he would just get fired. So if Mike McDaniel stays, it means we're not changing much. We're bringing in someone to compete with Quinn and Tua, whatever they do with him, and they're trying to make a run with the squad that they have. And they would assume they would renegotiate Tyreek's contract. You have Waddle, you have Waller, maybe another offensive lineman. You draft a cornerback, you bring in a cornerback, and then you're like, dude, we think we could do it with this team. Then it's like, isn't this the same thing Greer was doing? You know what I mean? That's how I would feel. I wouldn't be as excited unless Quinn did something crazy this Sunday and you were like, whoa, I'm excited for him this year. Like, I don't know. I don't know if we actually feel great about it, or if we're like, dude, the Bucs have won. They went 1-8 in the last 9 games. You know what I mean? So if you're going to move on from McDaniel, though, then do this right. Rebuild the team. Like, get rid of everyone. Trade Waddle. Keep the core defenders. Keep the core, like, offensive pieces. But trade some of the pieces that are locked up. Get rid of Tyreek. Get rid of Waddle. Get rid of Mika. keep Brooks, keep some of the young talent on the line, and then like maybe go with Quinn and have a bad team and really focus on drafting a franchise quarterback in 2027, but you got to do it right. But like you got to put together a bad roster and just build a lot of draft capital. That's the problem. I don't want to do it the wrong way. I don't want to have next year be like a 6-11 team and that's the rebuild year. And you're like, what are you doing when there's going to be a big quarterback class coming out? So if you're going to not bring McDaniel back, you got to clean house. And that's unfortunate. And that might even mean not re-signing Achane and trading him for a first pick. And that hurts. That hurts, but he'll be in his last year of his rookie contract. If you're gonna tank next year, he's gotta go. That means you're trading Achane, which you could probably get a first or a couple second rounds for him. You're getting rid of Waddle, and you're bulking up your draft capital. And you're just rolling it out with Quinn. And you're just releasing Tua. It's not far-fetched to think that you can't do what the Denver Broncos did with Russell Wilson. Why can't we flip it around? You just have to draft the right guy. And, do I think they think Quinn's the right guy? I don't know. If he was the right guy, here's my argument to that. If Quinn was the right guy, why didn't McDaniel and them get him in the 5th round? Why did they let it wait till the 7th? So obviously they weren't that high with Quinn, and the rest of the NFL wasn't, right? They weren't that high with him. So otherwise, if he was the guy, the Dolphins would have taken him in the 10th, in the 5th, or the 4th even. If they thought he was a solid backup. So, if he's good enough to start and they roll it with him next year and McDaniels is the coach, they're trying to win and it's not a tank. So that's where I'm at. And there's really not much to talk about other than like we're going to find out a lot. A week from today, we'll know a lot. A week from today, it'll be Thursday, it will be Wednesday. Coach firings usually happen on the Monday. Monday we'll have firings, right? So Monday we would find out if, we'll find out in 5 days, really. In 5 days, we're going to find out if McDaniel stays because Monday is the day that all these coaches will get fired. You'll hear about it, whether it's the Browns coach, whether it's Tomlin. I mean, they've even said Harbaugh, which I think is crazy, but like whoever loses that game there's going to be a lot of drama in Pittsburgh or Baltimore. Would you be happy with one of those coaches coming in? I mean, personally, I don't want Tomlin. I think he's a great coach, but I don't think that's what I would want. I would be more than happy to take a Harbaugh. Be more than happy to take a Harbaugh. Okay? We'll see what happens. 4 days. Mike McDaniel has at least 4 more days as a Miami Dolphins coach. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. These could be his last 4 days. It could be the last 4 days of the Mike McDaniel era. And I guess depending on how the game is. If he wins, does he secure his job? Does it come down to that? I don't know. But there's really no idea. We have no idea where this organization is headed until next week. By next week, we'll know. And that might piss off a lot of you guys, to be honest. Because if I'm sitting here doing this recap and Mike McDaniel's still the coach, then that tells you enough to know that, look, we're not doing a rebuild. That means they think that they can put a playoff team together next year. And I would assume that they're sticking with Champ Kelly. Because I don't know why there hasn't been another GM interviewed or anything. Clearly they like this guy. And I think if you're going to move on from Mike McDaniel, you would do it before you interview another GM, right? To let the GM decide what he wants to do. Why make it weird? Why hire a GM and then fire Mike McDaniel? Because if you don't fire Mike McDaniel on Monday, then that means the GM you hire, you're hiring because he likes Mike McDaniel. And then that's kind of weird because it's not his coach. So I think there's a lot of things to watch out for the next week. Because that determines whether this organization is going to take a leap forward and be different for once, or are we just going to sit around and be this organization that makes bad decisions for the team overall? You hear it on these sports shows. Don't hire a GM and force him to stick with McDaniel, unless that's like does he really believe in him? So if you're going to not hire GM and stick with Champ, then is it Champ and Mike making the decisions going forward? Then they get 1 year to do it. They get 1 year to do it, and you got to think it's Quinn versus someone else competing for a job. But clearly, then that means they've moved on from Tua, which I assume everybody thinks that too. We all think that Tua is not going to start another game for the Dolphins. But shit, man, you never know. So the only good news in Miami right now is the Hurricanes won. Congratulations to the Miami Hurricanes. I went to FSU, but I also was a Miami fan. It's confusing, but go Hurricanes. Let's watch that. That's all we got in South Florida right now. Hopefully the Panthers can make another run. But right now, we'll see what happens. Happy New Year, guys. Thanks for watching.